The unfolding drama, a journey through the biblical apocalypse. The term apocalypse often conjures images of fiery destruction, monstrous beasts, and weeping angels, all culminating in the dramatic end of the world. It's a potent image deeply ingrained in Western culture, fueling countless books, movies, and video games. But the biblical apocalypse, as found primarily in the book of Revelation, is far more complex and nuanced than the popularized disaster narrative. It's not simply about destruction. It's about revelation, unveiling hidden truths, and ultimately offering a message of hope, justice, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Let's embark on a journey to explore the biblical apocalypse, unpacking its historical context, literary genre, key themes, and enduring influence. We'll delve into the symbols and metaphors, understand the different interpretations, and consider what this ancient text might still have to say to us today. What is an apocalypse, really? Beyond the end of the world. Before diving into the book of Revelation, it's crucial to understand the broader genre of apocalyptic literature. The word apocalypse itself comes from the Greek word apokalypsis, meaning unveiling or revelation. Apocalyptic literature is a genre of writing that flourished in Jewish and early Christian circles from around 200 BC to 200 CE. It typically features visions and dreams. The writer receives divine messages through symbolic visions and dreams, often interpreted by angelic beings. Symbolic language. Apocalyptic texts are rich in symbolic language, using vivid imagery, metaphors, and coded references to represent real-world events and figures. Animals, colors, numbers, and mythical creatures often carry specific symbolic weight. Dualistic worldview. Apocalyptic literature often presents a stark contrast between good and evil, light and darkness, the present age and the age to come. This worldview emphasizes the cosmic struggle between these opposing forces. Eschatology. Eschatology, the study of the end times, is a central theme. Apocalyptic texts explore the final judgment, the resurrection of the dead, the establishment of God's kingdom, and the ultimate fate of humanity. Pseudonymity. Many apocalyptic texts were written under pseudonyms, attributed to revered figures from the past like Daniel, Enoch, or Moses. This was a common practice to lend authority and weight to the message. Purpose. The primary purpose of apocalyptic literature was to provide hope and encouragement to communities facing persecution, oppression, and uncertainty. It assured them that God was in control, even amidst chaos, and that justice would ultimately prevail. Think of it less as a doomsday prediction and more as a coded message of hope disguised within a terrifying narrative. It's a way of saying, things are bad now, but don't lose heart. God's plan is unfolding, and it will ultimately lead to a better future. The Book of Revelation, a deep dive into the apocalypse. The Book of Revelation, also known as the Apocalypse of John, is the final book of the New Testament and the most well-known example of biblical apocalyptic literature. Attributed to John of Patmos, who wrote it while exiled on the island of Patmos, the book describes a series of visions and revelations concerning the future. Historical context. Writing under pressure. To understand Revelation, we must first acknowledge the historical context in which it was written. Most scholars believe it was composed during the reign of the Roman Emperor Domitian, 81 to 96 CE. This was a period of intense persecution for Christians, who were increasingly seen as a threat to the Roman Empire due to their refusal to worship the emperor as divine. John wrote to encourage 7 churches in Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey, who were facing various trials and tribulations. These churches were struggling with internal conflicts, external pressures, and the temptation to compromise their faith. Revelation offered them a message of hope and reassurance that God was aware of their suffering and would ultimately vindicate them. The book can be seen as an act of resistance, a coded message of defiance against Roman power, and a call to remain faithful even in the face of death. Literary style, symbolic language, and dramatic imagery. Revelation is written in a highly symbolic and dramatic style, employing vivid imagery and metaphors to convey its message. Understanding these symbols is key to interpreting the text. Some of the prominent symbols include numbers. Numbers play a significant role in Revelation. 7 represents completeness or perfection, e.g., 7 churches, 7 spirits, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. 12 symbolizes God's people, e.g., 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles. The number 666, often associated with the Antichrist, is believed to be a coded reference to the Roman Emperor Nero. Colors. Colors also have symbolic meaning. White represents purity and victory. Red symbolizes war, bloodshed, and persecution. Black represents famine and death. Gold signifies divinity and kingship. Animals. Animals are used to represent various forces and figures. The lamb represents Jesus Christ, the sacrificial victim who triumphs over evil. The dragon symbolizes Satan and the forces of evil. The beast represents the Roman Empire or any oppressive power that opposes God. Other symbols. Other common symbols include stars, representing angels or leaders, crowns, representing authority and victory, and scrolls, representing divine decrees. The book is also characterized by its dramatic structure, featuring a series of visions, judgments, and battles that build to a climactic conclusion. It is filled with vivid descriptions of angels, demons, beasts, and celestial events, creating a powerful and unforgettable reading experience. Key themes: a tapestry of hope, justice, and triumph. While the images in Revelation can be frightening, the underlying themes are ultimately positive and hopeful. Some of the central themes include sovereignty of God. Revelation emphasizes the absolute sovereignty and power of God over all creation. Despite the chaos and suffering depicted in the book, God is always in control, orchestrating events according to his divine plan. Triumph of Christ. Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, is the central figure in Revelation. He is portrayed as the victor over Satan and the forces of evil. His sacrifice and resurrection provide the basis for salvation and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Judgment and justice. Revelation depicts a final judgment in which the wicked are punished and the righteous are rewarded. This theme emphasizes God's justice and his commitment to righting the wrongs of the world. Hope and perseverance. Revelation offers hope to those who are suffering and encourages them to persevere in their faith. It assures them that their suffering is not in vain and that God will ultimately vindicate them. The new creation. The book culminates in a vision of a new heaven and a new earth, where there will be no more suffering, death, or pain. This vision represents the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan and the establishment of his eternal kingdom. In essence, Revelation is a story of hope for the oppressed. It assures them that God sees their suffering, that justice will prevail, and that ultimately, good will triumph over evil. Breaking down the structure. A journey through Revelation. Revelation can be broadly divided into several key sections, each presenting a different aspect of the apocalyptic vision. The prologue, Revelation 1 verses 1 to 8, this section introduces the book, identifies the author as John, and states the purpose of the book, to reveal what must soon take place. Letters to the 7 churches, Revelation 1:9-3:22, John is instructed to write letters to 7 churches in Asia Minor, addressing their specific strengths and weaknesses. These letters offer encouragement, rebuke, and warnings, providing practical guidance for living faithfully in a challenging world. The throne room vision, Revelation 4:1-5:14, John is transported to heaven and witnesses a majestic scene centered around God's throne. He sees the elders, the living creatures, and countless angels worshiping God. This vision emphasizes God's glory, power, and holiness. The 7 seals, Revelation 6:1-8:5, the Lamb, Jesus Christ, opens a scroll sealed with 7 seals. Each seal represents a different judgment or calamity that will befall the earth, including war, famine, death, and persecution. The seven trumpets, Revelation 8:6-11:19, seven angels sound trumpets, each triggering a new wave of judgments upon the earth. These judgments are more severe than the seal judgments and include ecological disasters, plagues, and demonic attacks. The woman, the dragon, and the beasts, Revelation 12:1-14:20. This section introduces key figures in the cosmic conflict between good and evil. The woman represents the people of God, the dragon represents Satan, and the beasts represent earthly powers that oppose God. The seven bowls, Revelation 15:1-16:21, seven angels pour out bowls of God's wrath upon the earth, resulting in devastating plagues, environmental destruction, and military conflicts. These judgments are the most intense and comprehensive of all. The fall of Babylon, Revelation 17:1-19:10. Babylon, a symbol of worldly power and corruption, is judged and destroyed. This represents the downfall of all systems that oppose God. The final judgment and the millennium, Revelation 19:11-20:15. Christ returns in glory to defeat his enemies and establish his kingdom. Satan is bound for 1,000 years, followed by a final rebellion and the ultimate judgment of all humanity. The new heaven and the new earth, Revelation 21:1-22:5. John envisions a new heaven and a new earth, where there is no more suffering, death, or pain. God dwells with his people, and they live in perfect harmony and peace. The epilogue, Revelation 22 verses 6-21, the book concludes with a final warning and invitation. Readers are urged to heed the message of Revelation and to prepare for the coming of Christ. Understanding this structure helps to navigate the complex and often confusing imagery of Revelation, allowing readers to grasp the overall flow of the narrative and the key themes being presented. Interpreting the Apocalypse, a multifaceted landscape. The book of Revelation has been interpreted in a variety of ways throughout history, reflecting different theological perspectives and historical contexts. Here are some of the major interpretive approaches. Historicism. This view sees Revelation as a symbolic representation of historical events from the time of John to the end of the world. Each symbol and vision is interpreted as corresponding to specific historical figures, empires, and events. Preterism. This interpretation believes that most of the events in Revelation were fulfilled in the 1st century CE, during the time of the Roman Empire. The book is seen as a warning to the early church about the impending persecution and destruction of Jerusalem. Futurism. This view holds that most of the events in Revelation are still future and will occur during a period of tribulation at the end of the age. The book is seen as a prophetic prediction of the events leading up to the second coming of Christ. Idealism/symbolism. This approach interprets Revelation as a symbolic representation of the ongoing struggle between good and evil throughout history. The symbols and visions are not tied to specific historical events, but represent universal themes and spiritual truths. Eclectic approach. Many interpreters adopt an eclectic approach, drawing from different perspectives to arrive at their own understanding of Revelation. They may see some events as fulfilled in the past, while others are still future or represent ongoing spiritual realities. It's important to remember that there is no single correct interpretation of Revelation. The book is complex and open to multiple interpretations. The key is to approach it with humility, seeking to understand the original context and purpose of the book while also considering its relevance for today. Misconceptions and controversies. Clearing the air. The book of Revelation is often the subject of misconceptions and controversies, fueled by sensationalism, fear, and misinterpretation. It's crucial to address some of these common issues. Predicting the end of the world. Revelation is often mistakenly used to predict specific dates for the end of the world. However, the book itself warns against such speculation. Jesus said that no one knows the day or hour of his return. Matthew 24, verse 36. Revelation is not a timetable for the end times, but a call to be prepared and to live faithfully. Literal versus symbolic interpretation. One of the biggest challenges in interpreting Revelation is determining when to read the text literally and when to read it symbolically. Some interpreters insist on a literal interpretation, while others emphasize the symbolic nature of the book. The most balanced approach is to recognize that Revelation uses both literal and symbolic language, and to interpret each passage in its context. The Antichrist. The figure of the Antichrist is a central figure in many interpretations of Revelation. However, the book does not explicitly define who or what the Antichrist is. Some see the Antichrist as a specific individual who will appear at the end of the age, while others see it as a symbol of any power that opposes God. The Mark of the Beast, 666, the Mark of the Beast is another controversial symbol in Revelation. It is often interpreted as a literal mark that will be used to control people in the future. However, some scholars believe that the number 666 is a coded reference to the Roman Emperor Nero, who persecuted Christians. Others see it as a symbol of allegiance to the forces of evil. Violence and destruction. The violence and destruction depicted in Revelation can be disturbing for some readers. It's important to remember that the book is not advocating violence, but using it as a metaphor to represent the consequences of sin and the triumph of God's justice. By addressing these misconceptions and controversies, we can approach Revelation with greater clarity and understanding, avoiding the pitfalls of sensationalism and misinterpretation. The enduring influence. Revelation's impact on culture and thought. Despite its complex and challenging nature, the Book of Revelation has had a profound and lasting influence on Western culture and thought. Its imagery and themes have inspired countless works of art, literature, music, and film. Art and literature. Revelation has been a source of inspiration for artists and writers throughout history. From medieval illuminated manuscripts to modern paintings and sculptures, the book's vivid imagery has been brought to life in countless artistic interpretations. Similarly, literary works like John Milton's Paradise Lost and C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia draw heavily on the themes and symbols of Revelation. Music. Revelation has also inspired numerous musical compositions, from classical oratorios to contemporary rock and metal songs. Composers like Handel, Bach, and Mendelssohn have set passages from Revelation to music, capturing its dramatic power and emotional intensity. Film and television. The apocalyptic themes of Revelation have been explored in numerous films and television shows, ranging from epic dramas to horror thrillers. Films like The Seventh Seal, Left Behind, and This Is the End draw inspiration from the book's imagery and themes. Political and social thought. Revelation has also been used to interpret and critique political and social realities. Throughout history, the book has been invoked by both revolutionaries and conservatives, used to justify both resistance and submission to authority. The themes of justice, oppression, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil have resonated with people facing various forms of political and social injustice. Popular culture. The imagery and language of Revelation have permeated popular culture, appearing in everything from comic books and video games to advertising and fashion. The terms apocalypse, Armageddon, and Antichrist have become part of the common vocabulary, often used in a secular context to describe catastrophic events or evil forces. The enduring influence of Revelation demonstrates its power to capture the imagination and to speak to the deepest human concerns about the meaning of life, the nature of good and evil, and the ultimate fate of the world. Revelation today, finding meaning in a troubled world. While written centuries ago, the book of Revelation continues to resonate with people today, offering hope and guidance in a world filled with uncertainty and challenges. What can we learn from this ancient text in the 21st century? Hope in the face of suffering. Revelation reminds us that God is aware of our suffering and that He is working to bring about justice and healing. Even in the midst of chaos and despair, we can find hope in the promise of God's ultimate triumph. Called to faithful living, Revelation challenges us to live faithfully in a world that is often hostile to our values. It calls us to resist the temptations of compromise and to remain true to our convictions, even in the face of persecution. Importance of justice and compassion. Revelation emphasizes the importance of justice and compassion for the marginalized and oppressed. It calls us to speak out against injustice and to work for a more just and equitable world. Focus on eternal values. Revelation reminds us to focus on eternal values rather than material possessions or worldly success. It encourages us to seek God's kingdom and to prioritize our relationship with Him above all else. Preparation for the future. While Revelation is not a timetable for the end times, it does call us to be prepared for the future. This means living a life of repentance, faith, and obedience, and being ready to meet Christ when He returns. In a world facing numerous challenges, from climate change and political instability to social injustice and spiritual emptiness, the book of Revelation offers a message of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of God's love. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, light will ultimately prevail. It encourages us to live with purpose and conviction, knowing that our actions have eternal significance. Conclusion: more than just doom and gloom. The biblical apocalypse, as depicted in the book of Revelation, is far more than a simple prediction of the end of the world. It's a complex and multifaceted text that speaks to the deepest human concerns about good and evil, justice and injustice, hope and despair. It is a powerful message of encouragement for those facing persecution, a call to faithful living in a challenging world, and a promise of God's ultimate triumph over all evil. By understanding the historical context, literary style, and key themes of Revelation, we can unlock its rich meaning and apply its lessons to our own lives. We can find hope in the face of suffering, strength to resist temptation, and inspiration to work for a more just and equitable world. The biblical apocalypse, therefore, is not just about the end of the world. It's about the beginning of a new creation, a world transformed by God's love and justice. It's a story of hope that continues to resonate with people today, offering guidance and inspiration in a world that desperately needs both. So, the next time you hear the word apocalypse, remember that it's not just about destruction. It's about revelation, unveiling hidden truths and offering a promise of a brighter future. It's a call to action, an invitation to participate in the unfolding drama of God's plan for humanity.